r/AskReddit by QuriosityCat. What are some red flags of a bad friendship? Every time you're finished hanging out you feel worse than you did before, that's a sign of a bad friend. Or if you consistently put off replying to them, not out of spite or anything but just because you don't have the energy for them. They're draining you. Obviously not black and white. Some people are just the type that require a lot of energy because they have a lot themselves, but recognizing this has saved me from a lot of unhappy or even toxic friendships. Walking on eggshells. Constantly worrying if what you say is going to make them mad. When they can lean on you whenever they need you but you can't lean on them. When you call them out on bad behavior they act like the victim. Major red flag this one is. Being dismissive of all your interests and achievements. Meanwhile everything they do, no matter how mundane, is amazing. Almost verbatim conversation I had once. Didn't get your texts about scoring in the 98th percentile on your test. I just woke up. My alarm went off and I turned it off and unlocked my phone with my eyes closed. Can you imagine if someone saw me do that? They'd be so freaked out. Never actually acknowledged the fact that I beat the record in the entire department for my major, and that this was a really important test. But she got upset when I pointed out that most people are able to unlock their phone without looking at it. Edit. Thank you all so much for the kind words about my score. For the first time in over a year I feel like I'm allowed to truly be proud of what I did. I was happy with it at the time, but to have so many people rallying around it now is really something. You see, you got a private message from them and your gut reaction is to start getting nervous or anxious. What is it this time? They act just fine whenever they invite you over, and then as soon as someone else comes into the picture, their whole attitude changes. They begin treating you with disrespect, just to try and act cool in front of their new friend. When you never hear from them unless they need something. This one is huge. My brother has low-functioning autism, and people have been taking advantage of him for years. He finally wisened up to it and cut out at least 9/10 of his old friend group in the last few years because they were calling him up for a good time, only to make sure he was the one paying the bill. The last straw for him was when he ended up paying $1.5k USD for one of his friends to go to Vegas or something with him. I dated a guy who is very high functioning on the spectrum and I remember him bringing me around his friends for approval. They were fake protective of him and I could tell right off the bat they were users. But they knew him before he sold his company, and from college, so he trusted them. He offered to pay off all my bills once, stating he'd done it for a few friends. I know he was super kind and meant it, but we were newly dating and I was totally uncomfortable with that, so I said no. Later my friend worked for him and told me all the ugly things his co-workers would say, related to his people skills, and it broke my heart. I didn't fit in with his friends. It didn't work out with him either. He ended up cutting out a ton of people as well after some good investments paid out, but not before a significant bout of depression that made him question intentions. Unfortunately, I'm willing to bet the long-time users are still in his close circle. Hopefully he's found happiness. When one person is always right and one person is always wrong. Oh, I'm guilty of this. I'm trying to improve on this. I just hate it when someone's wrong. Yes, I know that wrong is subjective. From their perspective they are correct. And I can be actually wrong. Although there are some objective truths. Edit. Lots of good advice here. I hear you all. Thank you. Give us one example of something that happened recently. I've done this. I actually feel pretty bad after it happens, because I realize what I did. I was talking to a friend who had an iPhone and I don't know what we were talking about, but it went something like this. Me, iPhones are made in China. Friend, no they're not, they're made in California. Me, with a ducking annoying tone, well no, they're designed in California, but they're made in China. Friend, no, they're not, look. Proceeds to take out phone case. Me, see? Designed in California, borderline angry. Friend, yeah, guess you're right, with a kind of sad and disappointed look in her eyes. I swear to God I felt awful then. It was something stupid, but it makes me realize how big of a mole I can be over being right, but it's so hard to improve in this. I'm not even a person who has difficulties socializing, it's just this shitty thing that I do sometimes. Then I have to apologize for being such a mole and I even feel really bad after apologizing. When you text them they don't respond, but when you hang out they're always on their phone. I have a friend who is really bad at responding to texts, but when we hang out he is never on his phone. It's pretty cool. Edit, holy crow, Jay, I didn't know you had so many Reddit accounts. This is, unfortunately, something I can be bad at. I'll read the text message, start to write something and then just not send it for whatever reason. Same. Or I'll see a text while I'm working and make a mental note to reply when I get a minute and suddenly it's 11 PM when I remember. Like yeah, I wasn't busy that entire time, but without the new message indicator I completely forget to look. When they only ask you for things but never offer anything in return. They're just choosing you. Continually feeling like you want to say something but should hold your tongue. Low-key feel like this with everyone though. Same dude, but I think it started with my old friends though. In elementary school we were close, but by the time middle school rolled around we became more and more distant, and mostly everyone started ignoring me, and later bullying me. Being naive as a middle schooler, it never clicked in my head, but even now I'll type a comment up and delete it because I thought it sounded stupid. I ended up finding new friends later, but I wish I realized sooner that my friends weren't real friends anymore. Flaking on engagements with you, and only talking about themselves without asking about how you are doing. I'm finding I'm struggling with this a lot more as I get older. I'm starting to think it's maybe a side effect of people generally having less time, being absorbed by their careers, relationships and whatnot. Mostly good people who I considered good friends don't seem too interested and can't be bothered to ask much about me, while I am constantly making an effort to probe about their life and interests the few times a month we get together. My handful of friends with kids. Ducking forget about it, and nothing in my life could possibly be as important or worth talking about. People are naturally self-centered, and it definitely does get worse as people get older and have more going on. It's just part of life to a certain degree though. There isn't much you can say to someone with a career and kids to convince them to give you little more consideration that isn't risking sounding like a mole. When they've always got to one-up someone. You had a bad day? Theirs was worse. Your commute was crappy? Theirs was worse. You got a promotion at work? Well, something even better happened to them at their job that day. And on and on. I sometimes catch myself doing this. I'm not trying to one-up though, it's usually just cues I'm trying to relate to their story by showing them I went through something similar. But I worry it comes off like I'm trying to one-up. Then I try to overcompensate by asking questions so they don't think I'm a duck. I just want people to know I care lol. This hits home. Well, my story hits two homes. When they don't listen to what you have to say. One-sided. Major red flag. When they're not there when you need them. But you're the first one they call when they need someone. I knew this one girl a few years ago. She was very much this kind of person. She would come to me for help all the time. She was pretty dramatic and always seemed to have a problem, but hey, I'm a pretty helpful guy, so I didn't mind. One day, it was my turn to feel sad. I was having a rough day. So I called her. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of figure this out on your own. I can't help you, I'm not going to set myself on fire to keep you warm, yada yada. Some ducking friend you are. But here's the best part, later that night, at like 3 AM, my phone rings. Because someone was feeling fat and ugly and they really needed a shoulder to cry on. Did you miss your entire ducking speech only a few hours before this? Now I don't remember exactly what I said either, but it was something along the lines of shove it up your fat ugly dass, you inconsiderate duck. When they embarrass you in front of your other friends and don't apologize later. There's a fine line between busting chops and actual mean-spirited bullying. I love a good friendly ribbing among friends, but I ducking hate when someone is clearly looking to lift themselves up / prove their social standing by putting one of the friends in the group down. So toxic and insecure. If anyone ever does this to you, pull them aside at some point afterward and talk to them one-on-one about it. Tell them it really bothered you and not to do it again. If they do it again after that, there's no hope of it ever changing. Avoid as much as you can. Always saying they'll pay you back and never do. Had an old D&D group that was like that. I had a job at the time, and had graduated while they were all broke students a little younger than me, so I'd cover pizza, or cook for the group, or whatever. They always said they'd pay me back, but never did. I never actually asked them to pay me back, though. In fact, I usually said not to worry about it, and that I didn't expect repayment. I was just feeding some friends, and I didn't mind doing that. It was like they had a compulsive need to mooch and then lie about repayment, even though it wasn't asked for. Ultimately broke up with them. The D&D wasn't very fun with that group, and as the saying goes, no D&D is better than bad D&D. Edit, might as well just edit it into the original post since a couple of people have assumed this at this point. I guess my writing was misleading. I did not care about the money, and I still don't care about it. I'm just perplexed that they kept promising me for years that they'd repay me and never did. I'd understand if they accepted me saying it's fine, and I'd also understand if instead they decided to repay me at some point. They went for a weird halfway between the two. Can't accept responsibility for any mistake. Edit, oh damn. My first gold. Thank you, stranger. I lost one of my best friends because of this. We haven't spoken in 10 years, but I completely agree. Also, happy cake day. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do you know a great AskReddit thread that you'd like to see on this channel? Let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe to our channel and smash that like button. We'd really appreciate it. The Curiosity Cat is watching and meowing. Meow. Talk to you later.